Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Lisa Corrado. I'm a business coach who works with women, small business owners to help them simplify their success so that they can play more and work less. And that's going to be a big focus of today's talk. We're going to talk about adventure, how to make space in your work life, in your personal life for more adventure, whatever that means to you. So I want to start off with a question, which is, who agrees that in order to have more success, more business, more clients, that you need to work more? I think it's kind of a leading question. And also, I really think it's pretty common in our culture to feel like the key to success is to work harder, to work longer hours, longer days. And that's really actually a common mistake I see people making, is really feeling that in order to have all the success that you want, it really needs to be based on how much are you doing yourself in your business and how much time are you putting into it. Because the more that we do that, the more our businesses rely on us to be successful, the less sustainable it is. It's just success like that isn't sustainable, at least not in a happy and healthy way. So what we're going to talk about today is how to change that. I'm curious well, I want to mention Parkinson's law, which I think is something some people have heard about. Parkinson's law. And Parkinson's law states that work will to fill the time and the space allotted to it. So if you give a project a year, it's going to take a year. If you give a project 6 months, it's going to take 6 months. If you give a project 3 months, any guesses? Yes, it's going to take 3 months. And what's actually really, really interesting to me and really fascinating is some studies that they've done on this. And they've done these studies on time pressure and performance. So essentially, what is the impact on outcomes when you give yourself less time to do work? And what these studies found is that people who had less time to do work they were more focused, they were more productive, and they had better outcomes than people who were given the same work and more time to do it. So the people who had less time were more focused, more productive, and had better outcomes, which says to me, the solution is not to work more, the solution is to work less.
I need that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying yes because I'm like, I know, I did that.
And well, so you know, and this is really, this is going to be the theory that I'm proving throughout the rest of this presentation. And now we have another data point here. It really is a fascinating thing. And also, I think it can be a challenge because that's not how our culture is set up. We're set up to like, it's a badge of honor to be like, I'm so busy. I'm so, I don't have time for that. So how do you break out of that cycle? One way is to take a sabbatical, to just pull yourself right up and out of your normal life, which is something that I did. So I recently took a 2-month sabbatical, and I just traveled through Spain for 2 months. And what I chose to do was walk the Camino de Santiago, which is a pilgrimage route throughout Spain. I chose a 550-mile route, and I did that for 2 months. And it wasn't a vacation. I didn't want to shut down my business for 2 months and have to start it back up again. I didn't want to tell my clients, I'll see you later. Sorry, I know I've made you some promises, but you're going to just have to hang on for 2 months. I didn't want to do that. And not just because I really like my business, but I also really like the women that I work with, and I was going to miss them. So what I decided to do was make this something where I worked a little bit. So I would have my travel experience and also work a small amount. So generally, I would have said before this, I work 5 to 6 days a week, parts of those days. And this time I decided that's not going to do. I'm not going to go all the way, over to Spain and then spend all of my time working instead of enjoying my journey. So, and I didn't even do 3 to 4 days a week. I didn't even do 2 days a week. I did 1 day a week. I just did 1 day a week for 8 weeks. And it completely changed how I run my business. And it was really interesting to me because it wasn't my intention to change my business. I wanted to do this because I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to see what was possible. Can I go away for 2 months by myself, walk several hundred miles, and actually complete it? And one of the unexpected benefits was, wow, I can work in a very different way and still have great results. So what I learned was 1 day a week really kept things going beautifully. And I had a few new opportunities. And then I thought, if I just do like 2 or 3 days a week, tops, I can have my great business, but also grow it. So let's do that. And it really, and it was so eye-opening to see like, oh, that's how it works. It works better when I do it this way. And I think perhaps, like other people maybe who have heard of Parkinson's law, I would not have said that was the case before this. So, So do you want to know how I did that? Yeah.
I'm curious, especially how it may work for entrepreneurs with families and with children. And also how to go from working 6 days a week to only the 1 day a week, and then how do you manage productivity?
Yep.
By really shrinking your hours, because for me, I'm more like, the more you do, the more you get done. But I see, I'm really curious.
So what we're going to talk about is the process that I went through, and it's a process of going through spirit, going through strategy, and going through structure. And in there are the answers to your questions. Maybe not the specific things, but enough to give you things to think about, to think, okay, how can this be possible? I actually just started, thanks. I'm going to say that I just started reading a book on people that the author calls everywhereists, people who typically can work anywhere, that, they can choose where to live, and then they can work there. The work that they do, they can do it wherever they want. And what was really interesting to me, and I'm almost sorry I brought this up because I can't remember the name of the book or the author. I literally just started it. But what really struck me was she said, even people who are like doctors and people who need to be in person somewhere, are choosing first to be in a certain place, like where do I want to be, and then I'm going to choose what my work looks like there. So that's a little bit of a paradigm shift too. It's not just digital nomads who, people like me, I can work from anywhere. My business has been remote for years. But people who, typically think, oh, that a doctor has to be with their patient. Yeah, maybe they do. And also there's probably, a virtual component that they can do. And also maybe it's, for a lot of people, it's like, you know what, I'm going to prioritize where I live over, where I work, and where I work is going to support where I live. So it's an interesting shift. More to come as I finish this, as I finish this book. So we're going to talk about spirit and structure, and strategy. Spirit, strategy, and structure. First thing I want to do though is I want to invite everybody to just close your eyes just for a few moments, and take a couple of deep breaths. And I want you to think about what adventure means to you. What adventure means to you. So adventure could be travel. Adventure could be, more time to yourself. Maybe that's an adventure. Maybe it's more time with people who are important to you. Maybe it's more time working with organizations that are meaningful for you. Maybe it's more time with your family. Maybe it's more time simply to be and be quiet. So I'd like you to really kind of conjure up some ideas of what would you do if you had more time? And that's going to be your adventure. Whatever you come up with, I want you to keep it in mind as we go, because I think it's going to help you connect the dots as we go through this, so that people walk out with ready to take action, like what you're going to do with the information that I'm sharing. Okay. And so, like I said, I had 3 pillars: spirit, strategy, structure. We're gonna go through all those, and we start with spirit, and spirit is your mindset. And really, it is the most important pillar, absolutely the most important. In order to succeed at anything, especially anything new, your mindset has to be so prepared for that. I've done lots of physical challenges. Like I've done things like I've climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and the only way I did it was because mentally I was prepared. And I have had friends who've since also climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and they said, tell me your training plan. What is your training plan? Like, you got to get in the right headspace first. And they're like, yeah. But tell me, like, how much should I be walking? You know, and I'm like, that's important. And the only way you're going to get to the top of whatever mountain you're climbing, you know, literally or figuratively, is to have the right mindset. Because your mindset, your mind will take you much further than your body thinks it can go. Like when I was getting to the top of that mountain's almost 20,000 feet. It's the highest thing I'll ever be on outside of the plane, right? And my body did not want to do it. My body was like, let's stop, let's go down. It's nice and comfortable at the bottom. You're not going to feel sick there. You know, you can just relax and go to sleep. And my mind was like, oh, no, we're going to keep going. So my mind got me to the top of the mountain, not my body. My body came along for the ride. So it really is mindset. And the first thing that I do when I'm embarking on something new, or I'm planning to do that, is I make a decision. And I make a clear decision. I decide this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to summit Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm going to take 2 months to, you know, go to Spain and run my business from there. And I find that making the decision really clarifies the signal that you put out there. Like you make a decision, it's like, I'm going to have coffee instead of tea. That's a simple decision. It really is that simple. I'm going to do this thing that I want to do. And once you decide, that's like half the effort right there. I really feel that. There's the decision of, you know, making the decision. That's like the clear signal you put out. And then it's also doing, you know, connecting with that emotionally. And that's really more like the magnet of bringing it back in, like, hey, this is what I want. This is, you know, how I'm going to feel once I get it. It really puts you in a state of like, this is going to happen. I'm going to make this happen. So it's really starting with deciding. And it's also been my experience that when I make a decision like that, it's almost like placing an order. You know, it's almost as simple as what I just said. I'm going to have coffee instead of tea today. Or I would like a pepperoni pizza, please. You know, and it's that simple. It doesn't mean that I just sit there and wait for someone to magically show up with a pepperoni pizza. You know, there's a concept of pray to God and move your feet, you know, so there's that. And also I have to be really clear. We have to be really clear. What is it we want to accomplish? So it's making that decision. That is the first thing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, good. The next is really connecting with all the reasons why what you want to do is so important. And I've talked about this for years, practically everything I talk about, especially things like goal setting. Why is it important to you? Why do you want to do this? Why? What are all your big reasons why it's important? What are all your little reasons why it's important? And the size doesn't matter. You know, one of the reasons I wanted to walk the Camino was I wanted to be able to tell people I did it. You know, it was a physical thing that most people aren't going to do. I wanted bragging rights. Okay. So yeah, that was a reason. I also wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to see what was possible. I wanted to have this expanse of time and space with myself. I had a lot of reasons why. I wanted to do something big and scary, and it was big and scary. So think about that idea that popped into your mind, what adventure might mean for you. Why is that important to you? You know, what are the reasons that make that, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. What I encourage you to do after this presentation is really actually write it out, because those reasons become rocket fuel for what you're going to accomplish. And it's great to keep you motivated. It's great to re-motivate you, because sometimes things get hard. And sometimes you might think, you know, why am I doing it? Why am I doing this again? This is really, really hard. I don't see the completion line yet. And looking at your list of reasons will help you go, oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. I'm doing this because of this. So really focusing on why is so, so, so important.
Makes sense.
Yeah. What else? Oh, then it's, who is the person who's going to do that thing? Who do I have to be the person who's accomplished that? So for me, I had to ask myself, who's the Lisa who walks the Camino de Santiago? You know, what does she do to get ready? How does she stand? What does she eat? How does she prepare? You know, what does she say? What does she believe? What does she look like? So think about, let me, if somebody wants to share what popped into their mind about what they were thinking in terms of adventure, any examples that I can give some specific questions to ask yourself? How about I want to grow my business by 25%? Okay, so let's say somebody wants to grow their business by 25%. That's a bigger business. That's, you know, possibly an expanded business. That business might look different to be able to bring 25% more business in. Who is the person who runs that business? How do you need to be different? You know, how do you need to show up as the person who runs that business? Are there limiting beliefs that need to be banished? Are there new thoughts that need to come in? Are there new practices? Is there new, you know, education, new training? Who is the person who runs that business? How does she show up? That's really, really important too. And that I get is a little more nebulous. I'll give you another example. All my examples are hiking examples. Years ago, one of the first big hiking trip I went on was Mount Washington in New Hampshire. Mount Washington, I think it's the highest peak in the Northeast. And I had a group of friends who were doing it. And I said, oh, that's going to be great. And I trained for this by going to Italy for 2 weeks and just like eating and drinking my way through that. I didn't train. I didn't even have a backpack. You know, I borrowed everything that I needed and I showed up for this. What turned out to be, it's a hike I didn't take seriously, and it's a hike that needs to be taken seriously, and I didn't get that. So I showed up as the person who wasn't taking it seriously, the person who held the group back, the person who couldn't carry all of her own stuff.
She's like, oh.
Yeah, it was the person who I thought, these people are going to push me into the ravine. Like that's how I showed up. And yeah, I eventually got up and down, but it was awful. Like it was awful for me. It was awful for the other women in the group.
I thought you could only go up with a car, because
No.
I went up with a car and then you get a sticker that says my car.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can also get a sticker that said this body went up.
We got the other one, my
Yeah.
car went up.
Yep. Well, yeah, and that was probably the way I should have done it the first time. Let's say that.
So it sounds like your lesson would be, whatever you choose to do, you
Yeah.
should take it seriously and
Take it seriously, yeah. So what then happened is afterwards, and the group was mad at me. I had one of my best friends was in that, and I didn't know the other women as well. And the other women were mad at me, and rightfully so. Like, you know, it really was. We were going to, it took us 7 hours to go down. It should have taken us 3 hours. It was a lightning storm the whole way. There were people waiting for us at the bottom who were like, what happened to them? Like this could have been really, really bad, and I did not take it seriously. So a few months later, my friend in that group said, oh, they're organizing a trip to the Grand Canyon. And I thought, oh, great, I can't wait to go. And I thought, oh, that's so funny. I didn't get an email about that. So what I did was I reached out to the group leader and I said, hey, I'm so excited to hear about the Grand Canyon trip. I just want to make sure you have my correct email because I didn't get an email from you. And she said, you didn't get an email because you are not invited. And I was like, oh, why not? And she said, this trip is for people who can hike. You're not a hiker. And I was like, I was so wounded. Like she knew that I didn't show up. I mean, everybody
And
knew.
you're like, I'm gonna climb Mount Kilimanjaro now.
Well, so yeah, clearly this is why I now climb mountains. So I had to beg my way onto this trip. and she finally said, okay, you can come, but if you get in trouble, none of us are helping you. We are not waiting for you. Like, you are on your own. And I
Wow.
said, I got it. That's fair. No problem. And I trained like crazy. I got my own stuff. So I bought my own backpack. I had my own poles. I had my own boots. I carried all my own stuff. And I was the first one leading us up to the top of the rim as we finished it. And I loved it. And I really, that's when I was like, okay, yeah, you need to show up as the person who can do the thing that you say that you want to do. I only did Mount Washington out of like pure luck because, pure luck, and also the support of the people who could have killed me and didn't, but
Maybe you needed that as a motivation
yeah. Well,
to
and that,
fail first and then.
isn't that how we learn, right? That's how we learn.
She needed to fail
Oh, yeah.
first to get inspired to do it.
Yeah. I would not have been as fired up if I had shown up a little bit more prepared for Mount Washington, and like it was a little bit easier, wasn't so bad. I probably would have shown up the same way for the Grand Canyon, and I probably wouldn't have continued to hike. Since then, I've done, amazing hikes and really long hiking trips. Like, now it's really fueled this fire. And the woman who led that group finally said to me, you don't have to prove anything anymore. And I said, no, I actually like this. And she said, okay, no, you don't have to prove anything. You're good. You're in the club. And I said, thank you. So, and now I just love it. So yeah, who do you have to be? Who do you have to be? And what's your energy? So one of the things I have learned is the energy state that we're in when we create something really impacts the outcome of the energy of the outcome. It really impacts what we create. So I have another story for this that really, just when I connected the dots, it was amazing. So when I first left my corporate life, I worked as a personal chef, which meant that I was preparing meals for families every week. And I had families that I loved to work with and families that I didn't love to work with as much. And some who caused me a little stress because I didn't feel like I was serving them well. And so one week there was 2 families, each ordered mashed potatoes, and I made them same day and I delivered them. And family number 1, who I love to work with, sent me a note that those were the best mashed potatoes we've ever had in our lives. They were so delicious. They were light and fluffy. We just loved them. I said, oh, thank you. Second family called me. These mashed potatoes were terrible. We want our money back. It's like, oh, wow. Okay, yeah, all right, I'll give you a refund. Next week, both families ordered mashed potatoes again as part of their weekly menu. First family, and I was like, okay, same potatoes, same technique, all the same ingredients, same person. And as I'm making 2 different batches. First family, such great mashed potatoes. Second family, these aren't good mashed potatoes. And I actually kept some for myself and I tasted them. I'm like, they are right. These are wildly different mashed potatoes. The people I love to work with, I was putting all my love and joy that I had working with them in those mashed potatoes. The people who I felt stressed out to work with, I was putting all my stress into their mashed potatoes. So I'm serving them stress. I'm serving the other people love. So yeah, like, who's going to be happier, right? It came through in the mashed potatoes. So yes, it came through in the mashed potatoes. So, so that to me is always like a concrete example of like, this is how energy works. This is one way energy works. When we're really, energy rich, we're excited about what we're doing. We're happy, we're joyful. We create an amazing end product. We create amazing, delicious mashed potatoes. When we're stressed out, when we're not feeling good about it, when we don't want to do it, whatever we're creating, they're terrible mashed potatoes. So it's really focusing on being in an energy rich state. And if you are trying to do, like, if your idea of adventure, whatever you came up with, if you struggle to get into an energy rich state, if it doesn't light you up, if it doesn't make you excited, that's a really great indicator. Hey, maybe this is not the thing for me. Maybe I chose this for reasons that aren't right for me. So it could be a great filter as well. It could be a really great filter. I want to pause for a second and take a sip and see if there are any questions, any comments.
thinking about that movie Chocolate, was it Chocolate, French movie where she like pours all of her love into that, in making chocolate, she lives in a French town, do you know this movie?
Yeah.
I
Really good.
haven't seen the movie yet, but I,
Yeah, and then like the whole town, yeah, there's Johnny Depp and I forget.
Is it a new movie?
No,
No,
it's
it's
old,
old.
yeah, it was an Academy, but anyways, just like what you talked about with the mashed potatoes, so. And then the whole town kind of like all fell in love after eating her chocolate. But it's like Carolyn who like cooks here, like she
Yeah.
has that, she puts it in the love.
you can, yeah.
You can feel it.
It's like there's this restaurant in New Canaan, and when they first opened, they had a professionally trained chef who'd worked for years, and his food was very, very good. And then sometimes I would have the same thing and I'd think, wow, this is really, really good tonight. And it's a family who owns it. And I would say to one of the brothers, wow, it tastes even better tonight. He's like, oh, my sister's in the kitchen. And it happened every time. His sister wasn't professionally trained. And I finally said, your sister, she really cooks with love, doesn't she? And she is now, you know, the executive chef for all of their restaurants, and the food is always good. And I could always tell the difference. Here's this professionally trained, you know, I am a chef. She's like, I'm just cooking with love. And you could absolutely taste it, absolutely taste it.
So true.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
I think I resonated with the energy. When I started school, I had the kids, I was working full time, and I'm like, how am I gonna do this? First semester went by, it was very stressful, but then I started to see my grades. And I'm like, oh my God, this is really like paying off, like the late nights, the hard work, and then putting myself through school, not paying a dime. Then I was like, wow, like all this sacrifice at the end of the day, having the right energy and being motivated, made that all worth it at the end.
Yeah,
So I think, yeah, you're right.
exactly. It really, that's how it is. That's just how it is. And this isn't like a new idea that I had. This is just sort of a recognition of, oh, that's how it works in our universe, right? Yeah, yeah. So think about that when you're making dinner tonight.
She's not making dinner. You're calling me.
Think of that when you're calling for a takeout. The last part of mindset for me is trust. And trust to me means allowing other forces to come into play, to trust that I'm on the right path, to trust that there are all these other forces that are going to help me achieve, accomplish, do what I want. That it's not, I don't have to figure it all out myself. I don't have to know how to do everything right now. I can just simply start moving. And the way will become clear. And in a little bit, I'll talk about some examples from the Camino where I really did trust. And it was amazing. It was absolutely one of the things that I've learned is when I am striving for something, I am the limiting factor in what I can achieve, because my imagination is only a human imagination. But when I trust that I'm going to get the results that are right for me, then it's always better than I could have expected, which is so cool. It's like the universe really playing like here. Like there was one day I was walking on the Camino, and bathtubs, first of all, having your own bathroom was uncommon, and also having a bathtub in that was uncommon. And there was this one really, really hot day, and I was really sore and I was really tired. And I thought, I'm gonna have a bathtub in my room. I knew I had my own room. I thought, I'm gonna have a bathtub in that bathroom. And I got there, and it was this enormous jacuzzi tub. And I thought, oh, the universe is just showing off now. Like, that's fantastic. I mean, it was like a 3-person tub, just for me. So I would have been happy with a bathtub that could
Put your
fit.
pillow in there.
Oh my God, what I did was I went and I got a huge bag of ice and I put that in and I stuck my feet in it, and that felt really good. But, so I have other examples like that. So trust is a huge thing as well. So really, I can't, if I say nothing else, about how to really open up your time, and open up your business so that you can have more space for the things that matter to you. It's really focusing on your spirit, your mindset, really deciding that you're going to have it, connecting with why it's so important to you, really being who you need to be in order to do this, creating from the right energy state and trusting that it's all going to happen. Yeah. Any questions or comments on that before we move on? Okay. Now we'll get into the thing that I think a lot of people dive into first before they do all of that. My suggestion is get your head right, get your mindset right, and then dive into strategy. And to me, strategy is really fun. I like strategy. And strategy is, figuring out, okay, how is this going to happen? And I really think of strategy as, what decisions are you making? What are you saying yes to? What are you saying no to? That's going to support your vision. So anything you say yes to will typically give you fewer resources to say yes to other things. So you want to be strategic in what you're saying yes to, right? We have, the universe is unlimited, right? And also we have limited energy, limited time, limited money in some cases. So how are you going to spend those resources that you have? So when you say yes here, you probably have to say no somewhere else. So you want to make sure you're doing that in a way that makes sense for what you want to accomplish. So when you think about, what you want to have more of in your life, whether it's more travel, more time, more volunteer time, more, creating something new, whatever it is, what are some places that you have to say no? And that can look like, it's really prioritizing. It really comes down to prioritizing. And I know, especially as business owners, especially people who run small businesses, there are plenty of places where you can reclaim time, energy, and your resources by delegating things that are important, that are timely, that still want to be done, but don't need you to do them. So very often, especially when someone has started a business as a solopreneur, and maybe they've grown it and they have a team, and also they have always been the one to do these things. So they just keep being the only one to do these things. Maybe that's not the case anymore. Maybe it's time to delegate to an existing team member, an existing resource, or maybe it's time to hire somebody or collaborate with somebody. Maybe it's time to downshift on something. So that can be like, this is an important thing, but it doesn't have to happen now. So I can set it aside for a little while. Or it's something you can ditch altogether. So for an example, I have a client told me how she was spending an hour, maybe a little bit more every month, looking at all of her social media analytics and then doing nothing with the data. And then she finally occurred, because she had always done it. And she thought, wait a minute, why am I doing that? Why am I spending this time if I then don't do anything with the information? She wound up delegating it to her assistant, I believe. And they will check in with it once in a while, but she's like, I'm going to free up that time. Like it's an hour I can use to do something where I can, actually make more money. So you can, there are some things that you can, even ditch altogether. She delegated, I think, but there are practices probably that can be ditched, right? Yeah, that happens a lot. The other thing is enrolling others. And I would say, depending on what you're trying to do, support is probably a huge part of your strategy. It was, for my Camino experience, having support, enrolling other people and getting support was massive for me, because I couldn't do this the way that I wanted to do it all by myself. Yes, I took 2 months and I walked alone, but it wasn't just me by myself who got myself there. So I had to, especially since I was still running my business, there were a lot of people that I had to get support from, and a lot of people that I had to enroll. And I started with my assistant. In fact, she was outside of my husband, she was the first one I told. Like as soon as I booked the plane tickets, I was like, hey, guess what? I'm doing this thing next year. So we have to really take a look at, how, what are you doing? How are we working in the business? And what needs to change. And then I had to enroll my clients, right? I had to tell my clients, hey, I'm traveling for 2 months. And, I didn't say anything to them until I had a plan. I wanted to have it all in place, because I knew this is just human nature. Once I told them, their first thought would be, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for my, I'm paying Lisa. What does it mean if she's not going to be here for 2 months? How am I going to get the support that she's promised? So I promised them, like, I have an entire plan, I'm gonna roll out the plan, and you are going to get everything that I promised. And I decided, and it worked out very well, that as long as they got the outcomes I promised, it didn't have to be me alone delivering them. So this was another great realization, and this is where you start to leverage things that help free up your time, instead of saying, well, it's gotta be me, I've got, my name is on, my company name is my name, right? So it's gotta be me delivering it, not necessarily. If my clients can get everything that I promised them in the overall experience, then that's the win, that's the win. So, and I wanted their support. I wanted them to cheer me on while I was going. So I said, we're going to do this together. I'm going to bring you along with me. And I did. And they found that really, really fun. They thought it was really neat that I was doing this and that they'd be with me virtually. And I also enrolled new clients. Like right before I left, I ran one of my quarterly retreats. And two of the women who attended that signed up for my ongoing coaching group. And I said to them, I'm going to be away for 2 months. I just want to be really clear. Things aren't going to look the way they have been looking. And they said, yeah, that's fine. They were caught up in the excitement. They said, that's absolutely fine. We believe we're going to get what you promised and we want to be a part of it. So that was really fun. So that's, the professional stuff. But it's also enrolling, a lot of us are solopreneurs or have very small teams, and our families are a big part of our support. Our friends are a big part of our support. So I had to enroll my family, and my husband was on board. My parents were not fully on board because they were afraid. Here's their daughter going off, and here's a woman solo walking across Spain by herself. So they were a little concerned about that. So I treated them. It'll be so interesting if my mom winds up watching this. I went back to my corporate days and I thought, okay, when I had clients who really needed to be reassured, I over-communicated. I gave them tons of information. We went to the local library. There was a woman there giving a talk, and she talked about her experience doing it, and her parents were in the back of the room, and I took my parents and I said, talk to her parents, and just ask all your questions. And her parents were lovely, and shared everything. So it was really just trying to enroll, the people I cared about and who cared about me, so that I felt support, because, anything big that we do is really best done with support. Yes. And the other thing I did was I got public support, and I did this trick that I do when I want to accomplish something really big and I haven't really started yet, or I have some fear about it. And that is, I tell everybody that I'm doing it before I've started doing it. So this is how I got into graduate school. I told everybody, I'm going to graduate school. And they're like, great, where are you going? I'm like, I don't know. I haven't even applied yet. So, but then having to tell everybody, I didn't want to go back and say like, oh, by the way, I'm not going to graduate school. I would have felt like an idiot. So I did the same thing. Oh, I'm walking the Camino de Santiago. Great. And then what was really fun when I was in graduate school, social media didn't exist, but having it now, I was able to like post videos online, like training videos, and I had people commenting, and it was a way to get support while I was training for it, getting ready for it. And then all those people wanted to, be a part of the journey as I walked along. So then I had all this support and all this community while I was away. So, think about how you can do that. How can you garner support? Is there something big and scary that you want to do? Can you start telling everybody about it? And then can you use social media or other forms of communication to really virtually take them along with you on whatever your journey is? That was really, really neat. So support for me was, I would say support and strategy were kind of interchangeable. So I'm curious to hear, like, if anybody is kind of wondering, what kind of support might I need? Are there other strategies I need to put into place? Or are there any comments on this part? Anybody thinking like, maybe I could reach out to this person, or maybe it's time to enroll this person? there's always that opportunity, right?
I mean, the way that you've done it makes a lot of sense, getting your husband, your parents, and not just doing it solo.
Yeah, yeah. And I had support. It was also once I got to the Camino, so I'm doing the thing that I said I was gonna do, I got support there too, from the other people that I met. So I stayed in places where I met other people. And, the very first morning before we started walking, I was so nervous, my legs were shaking. And I thought, I don't know, because I didn't know if I could do it. I thought I could do it, but I didn't know yet that I could do it. So I said to one of the guys I had met, this guy from California, and I said, I gotta tell you, I'm really, really nervous. I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to do this. And this guy, Paul, understood the assignment. He looked at me, he's like, okay, I've only known you for 12 hours, but here's what I know about you. And he gave me all the reasons why he thought it was gonna be fine. And he really gave me such a great pep talk. I was like, thank you. And I got to return the favor. Like a week later, he got very, very sick with COVID, and we were all in communication with WhatsApp. So I was able to keep, he's all by himself in a hotel room, quarantined in a hotel room. So I was able to keep supporting him, say, like, you're gonna get through this, you're gonna be able to return. So, and it was just a great way to get unexpected support and also give support, because that feels really good too, right? Yeah, yeah. So in this case, for me, support and strategy are practically synonymous. And then finally, structure. So once we know, what are the decisions we're going to make? What are the pieces we're going to put in? Structure is the pieces that you're going to put into place. So once you've made decisions like, okay, I'm going to focus on this, I'm going to do this thing. What wants to be strengthened? What wants to be shored up? What structure can you put into place to help build this building that you're doing? And systems and processes are awesome structure formats. So what I did when I was trying to figure out structure, the first thing I did, because I was really thinking about my business, I thought, okay, what are the promises I've made to my clients? And I listed them all out. And then I thought, okay, how do I deliver on those promises? What can I use? What can I do so they still get the promised outcomes and the promised benefits? So it really was a list on a piece of paper, like on one side, here's what I promised, here's how we're going to deliver that. So my big deliverables for my clients are group coaching calls, and it was one of them. So for the 8 weeks I was gone, I had 4 group coaching calls, and I thought, okay, I'm not going to be able to do all of those. So what I did was I asked other people for help, and I asked one of my coaches, I asked one of my peers, and I asked one of my clients to run 3 of the 4 meetings. And they all said yes. So they showed up and facilitated those meetings, and we did topics that we were going to be covering anyway. So my coach talked about the energy of language. My peer talked about KPI tracking, really tracking your key performance indicators. And then my client did a mastermind format, which allowed her to show up. She's got very strong leadership skills, so it allowed her to facilitate that. So, and it was just such a great win for everybody, because it gave me some relief. I didn't have to worry about that. These people who I really respect, who are really good at what they do, got to show up and do what they do really, really well. And then my clients got to get new perspectives, new voices, a whole new input, which was beneficial for them as well. The next thing I had to figure out was one-on-one calls. So one of the things I decided was, okay, I'm only working 1 day a week. It's going to be Wednesday, because my group calls are already scheduled for every other Wednesday. I thought, great, one-on-one calls, those are going to be Wednesday too. And we set that up ahead of time, and we used just a simple Google form, and we put it out to all the clients, like, here are the days, and here are the time blocks. So indicate your preferences. And once we gathered all that back, we went through, we sifted through it, and we said, okay, here's the schedule. So we told everybody ahead of time, here's when your coaching calls are, so that before I left, all of us knew when all of the calls were, and there wasn't any question about it. And it really became kind of fun. Even people who don't typically do a video call with me, we did video calls because they wanted to see where I was. Because sometimes it was like this little desk and this little hostel. And sometimes it was like this big, beautiful, grand room that I happened to, be in. So it came like, where's Lisa now? Where is she now? So, so having that structure in place reassured me, my team, and them, like, okay, these things are gonna happen the way I promised that they were gonna happen. And that doesn't mean things always worked perfectly, because nothing works perfectly, but it was okay. That was another thing that I asked my clients to do. I said, please be flexible. And I always ask that, they ask me to be flexible with them. Sometimes they have to make changes. Sometimes I have to make changes, because sometimes it doesn't go exactly the way you planned. Okay, no problem. We're going to do it another way. So that was a really, really important having again, that was really support, but also the structure of the calendar. And then it was also taking a look at what are the systems and processes that we already use. And I have a lot of them in place to run my business. So, what do I have? Google Space to do all the creation. We've got project management. We use Trello for project management. We use Zero for bookkeeping. We use Acuity for calendars. We use Airtable to manage social media. We use MailChimp for the newsletters. So all of these things that we had in place and more, there are even more systems that we use. We went through everything and just made sure, is this going to work? Is this going to work for us? Is there anything that we need to do differently? And we really leaned into them. So much that we have automated already just kept going. Just kept going. So I didn't have to create a ton of stuff. So that really speaks to me, it really speaks to the power of no matter what you're doing, even if it's not that you want to have more adventure or that you want more time, taking a good look at what are other systems I can put into place? What are other processes I can put into place so that I can really leverage them? There's technology available, or there are steps that you can do that will make anything that you're doing easier. And in some ways automated, like very much set it and forget it. So like all of my social media, that's very set it and forget it. I use Meet Edgar for that. It just constantly, rotates through the library that we have. So even if I never put another post in there, I always have social media going out. So what are some systems that can continue to run for you? Where do you have places where you think, oh, there's got to be a better way for this? I do it from start to finish every single time. And it just feels like there's got to be a better way. So I think everybody can find places to do that. And in personal life too, what are some systems, ordering groceries, getting a dog walker. What are some ways where it doesn't have to be you doing the thing every single time? I think I just heard a light bulb going. I think I just heard a light bulb going.
The grocery shopping, that's the one I was thinking, because it takes me like 2.5 hours.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Because I have to go to ShopRite, Trader Joe's, and sometimes Costco. And I have my list, and then I have to stop in one place, stop in the other one, I have to have lunch in the middle. Yeah, I just wish someone could take that over.
Somebody can take it over.
Yeah.
But they never send you the right stuff. Sometimes you get the bananas all green, or they're too yellow, or they don't give you the right
Usually
vegetables.
with things like water, things that I know that they can't go wrong with, I order and just get it shipped or just do like a curbside, so I don't have to spend the time there if I don't need to.
That's what I'm gonna do.
And then with like produce, because I know how picky I am, then I spend the time to go do that
Yeah,
specifically.
Maybe I'll do that,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
You're gonna be
Pick up.
teaching one of these classes. Having 6 kids.
Tell me more.
6 children, no.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
working
you have
full-time.
systems and processes in place and.
I have older ones.
Gosh.
Systems
So
and
you
process.
enroll people.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do, curb pickup.
It's
And
just
then just go for the
easier, and
groceries.
it's like she said, it cuts that time that you could use somewhere else,
Yeah.
because you know what you're looking for, like with the produce and like that stuff, I take my time, because I like to pick that out.
Yeah. I was gonna send Lucia, she helps me with the house. I was just gonna send her.
Oh, it's pretty automated.
Yeah,
You could do that too. It could be another person.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyways,
What's that for
Sending
shopping?
Lucia to the supermarket so she can go, maybe.
There you go.
Maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
Hire somebody, it's worth it.
Absolutely.
For grocery.
Yeah.
When I had a dog, even though I work from home, I would hire a dog walker once or twice a week. Like, I'm home, I can walk my dog, but I wouldn't always have like the hour to give that this energetic dog needed. So I hired a dog walker. You know, my dog loved it. This guy got some business. My dog loved the guy. I love the guy. So great. Why not?
It worked out for everybody.
It worked out for everybody. It worked out for everybody.
I'd rather walk the dog. Than a grocery shop. And then I only go to Trader Joe's, I don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I think with the young kids, you know, that's why like, you have to do all of that, you have to order curb pickup.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
Well, with my older one, I've started training her. Like when I can't go to the grocery store, I just don't want to go to the grocery store. I'm like, this is what you need to look for. This is what you're picking out. So I passed it on.
Yeah, because you train her, yeah.
And roll
Yeah,
others.
that's what I have to
I
do.
have to ask too.
Oh, no, I gave it to my daughter.
I have, my friends that are now like, they were older, the men like to go to the grocery store.
Right, Chris doesn't
They do.
like it, he's like, oh my goodness, it's draining.
Yeah.
I find it draining too.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, if you're
coming up with
teaching-
Ideas here.
Yeah, I love that. And if you're teaching your kids, like you're teaching them a skill that they're gonna use as adults.
Yeah.
Like, that's fantastic. So why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
like,
More
more
loose
It's
thinking.
a matter of
Rotation.
letting go of the control of it. You
Yeah.
have
Like,
to
it's all-
let
and then
somebody,
also not-
it's a control thing.
And also like, so if the bananas are green, in a day they'll be yellow.
Yes, but if, you know, but the kids, sometimes I send the kids bananas for lunch, and then if they don't have it, then I have to come up with some other lunch ideas, and I like to send them hot lunches every day. It's a chain effect, so I have to come up with a
It's control.
solution.
Maybe just put a little note when you order. Please make sure.
That hasn't happened. I tried once. I got an odd idea on the curbside from ShopRite too, and anyways, I have to.
TaskRabbit, isn't that, I don't know. if that's-
TaskRabbit, yeah. TaskRabbit. I haven't personally used that, but I mean, that's something for errands, you know, high school kid, whatever it is.
Yeah, high school kid. And maybe. just- okay.
Yeah, okay. So the big takeaway is grocery delivery.
I think it's just indicative of things that you can delegate out
Yeah.
and think about other ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And letting go of the control, you have to be the only person
Oh,
doing
yeah.
it.
But
I
the
don't wanna be
solopreneurs
the-
have a hard time with
I
that.
don't wanna be the.
Well, and that,
Well, like, I think like she said, they're so used to them doing it all the time that it's hard to be able to pass it on.
Mhm.
yeah,
I see it in every business owner.
Yeah, and it's also a matter of things don't have to be 100% perfect.
mhm,
There's that, especially in a sole business owner thinking that everything has to be 100%. There might be a way of having it be acceptable and good and not 100%.
Right.
hallelujah. Hallelujah, that's so true. It's changing a standard and allowing it to be different, and knowing that if someone else is doing something for you, they're gonna do it differently than you, because they are not you. You know, and you can train them to do it your way, and they're gonna do it.
And it might be equally acceptable, like you employed or it enrolled your peers to help out, and
Yeah.
it worked out as a win-win for you.
Yeah.
By having these people speak and do something, and it gave a different perspective.
Yeah,
So the bananas might not be totally yellow.
Low
It might
bananas.
be
The low
half-
bananas.
different though.
Maybe
It's
green
different.
bananas.
Maybe it's a different.
Like the potatoes.
Yeah, maybe it's a different fruit. Who knows? Who knows?
Variety.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, apples.
Oh my gosh.
Oranges. Okay. I'll check back in with you at some point. Another form of structure is schedule. We've talked a little bit about this here. So really employing schedule. And one of the things I did when I was in Spain was I found a rhythm that I could rely on, and having a schedule that worked for me. So like a typical day, excuse me, was I would get up, I'd stretch a little bit, I'd have breakfast, I'd have coffee, I'd start walking, I'd stop for second breakfast, have a little more coffee, get to where I was going, I'd wash my clothes, I'd take a shower, and then I could relax for the rest of the day. I'd have dinner, meet some people, and that was my day over and over and over again for the better part of 2 months. So that took a lot of thinking out of it. And I knew what I was going to do. Like, it was just pretty easy. So relying on having a daily rhythm, and also the power of a calendar. Like all of my to-dos are in my calendar. So I don't use a different, I've never, that's not true. In the past, there are solutions that I've tried that have helped me with task management, and things have changed for me in a way where I prefer to just do it in my calendar, and that way I know, and then I can also be a little bit more realistic. Like, oh, if I think I'm gonna do these 47 things today, I can think again because they're just spilling out of my calendar. So it's a nice way to capture things. So instead of sending myself an email or putting it in some, that's what personally works for me. I know other people who love things like, Asana or other types of task management things. I use Trello with my assistant. So when I'm working with other people, when I'm collaborating with other people, we use an online system. I've used Basecamp in the past, which was really great, which was more than I need right now. So having that daily rhythm, and also another thing that was so great on my trip, and I think that this was a huge learning for me is, and this was, I guess, Parkinson's law. Two things. One, I only worked one day a week. Remember, I only worked on Wednesdays. So I was super focused on Wednesdays. Like I was committed. All I did was work that day. And that really freed me up. First of all, I did really well in what I was doing. I knew this is what I'm focused on today. And also the other 6 days out of the week, I thought, I don't have to think about work because it's not Wednesday. Until Wednesday came around again, I didn't have to work. And that gave so much space and grace to everything else that I was doing. And so that's something that we can do with anything. If okay, I'm gonna, only work Monday. For some people, the win is to only work Monday through Friday, right? And not work on the weekends. So sometimes that's the win. So if like I'm gonna get it all done Monday through Friday, so if my weekend's free, great. If it's, I'm not gonna work on Fridays anymore, I'm not gonna work on Fridays for a period of time. If you're focused Monday through Thursday, great. So compacting it in, really using Parkinson's law, I think is huge. So any other comments or questions about structure? I wonder how we're doing on time, because I don't have
It's 1 p.m.
It's 1 p.m, so that's our time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to, let me just do a quick wrap up here. It really was focusing on spirit, so taking a look, let me say it this way. Anything new that you want to create, anything new that you want to create space for, take a look at your mindset first. It's really focusing on spirit. It's taking a look at the strategy. How are you going to make decisions to support that? And also, how are you going to put structure in place to make things easier for you? Structure are the tools that you use so that you don't have to do it all from scratch every single time. The last thing, I'm going to skip through this, but the last thing for people watching this, I want to ask for a favor, and I want to give a gift. So I would love, I use this tool called Takada to have people give me feedback on the talk, let me know how it was. And at the end, there is a download that I've created called the Simple Start. And the Simple Start is designed to make things simpler. So in parts of your life, so that you have more time and energy and freedom to focus on other things. So we take a look at things like, how do you simplify your morning routine? How do you simplify your email inbox, which could be a bear for some people, and how do you simplify your to-do list? So I created this structure and process around that. So if you'd like a copy of that, scan the QR code. It'll take you like 60 seconds to go through to give feedback on that, and then you'll get the link to download that at the end. And thank you very much.
And how can people reach out to you? Is your contact info there?
My contact info, I think, will be in here. It's
Let's see.
also, the best way is my email, which is lisa@lisacorrado.com.
Good.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Well, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
This one.